Good day, Mr. Boesak. It is an honor to have you on the Mindful Practice podcast show. I'm so happy that you're making the time to chat.
Wat 'n honor, maar ja, baie dankie. Is 'n groot voorreg vir my ook om saam met jou te chat vandag. Baie dankie.
You don't have to stick to the Afrikaans. We can mix it up a little bit. But everybody will recognize him as the news presenter. And today he's going to spread the news of himself. So welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Bronwyn.
Echbert Boezak, you are originally from my area, Paarl, Simondium. But take us back and fill us in on the childhood years and where you grew up and who's the close family.
People joke sometimes, right? Because die Boesakke is a big family. Ons is 'n groot familie, nee. Ons kom van die Noord-Kaap af, my pa's van die Noord-Kaap af. But ons is eintlik mos maar plaas Jappies, man, as they say in Afrikaans. So was born in Simondium. My brother and my sisters keep on reminding me you were born in a little clinic there, so don't be fancy with us.
Yeah.
So in the 70s, my dad was a teacher there in Simondium. And I was born there, and in those days it wasn't as fancy as it is now. So daar was nie 'n vrede en lus and
Okay.
all
The
these
wine
wonderful
farms.
wine estates.
Yes.
Yeah, all these wine farms. So I was born there. In a house that my dad built ourselves. It was asbestos house, and there was a veld, and there was a small baby school, and all of that.
Okay.
And after a year, I went to the big town. Toe gaan ons Paarl toe. Ek het basies maar in die Paarl groot geword. We had a house, my mom still lives in a house in New Orleans.
Right.
En ja, ek het daar groot geword en baie van die mense met wie ek groot geword het gaan vir jou sê, ek het die grootste bek gehad, né? When we played cricket or rugby or something.
Praat baie.
Ek het baie gepraat en ek het die grootste bek gehad. And some people still tell you I still have the biggest mouth. I still went to Simondium. I was a year at Simon's Vlei, which is over fancy across Babylon's Toren.
Yes,
There was a school my mom was at called Simon's Vlei. I was there for a year. I never went to school in Paarl. Ek was net daar op die plaas gewees.
You mean primary school?
At primary school. High school was ek by Noorder Sekondêr. I know you were one of those fancy people that went to Kleineburg. You know, it was
wow.
It was, het was die inskool gewees. Maar ek was by Noorder Sekondêr.
Niks fout met Noorder Sekondêr nie? Shout out.
Ja. So from there I went to Marties, I went to Stellenbosch, I studied. Yeah, I think that's where we sort of connected.
That's where I saw you more in the Nielsen at Stellenbosch University.
And I want to categorically state that even though I actually studied, I didn't just sit in the Nielsen, I actually did study.
I do remember seeing you there a lot as I was walking past.
Ek het baie geraas. Ek het baie dalk geraas hoor, so. I finished my BA there. I did a Teachers Diploma as well, so ek was amper onderwyser gewees.
Okay.
And then I felt that look, my big passion was journalism and broadcasting, and I wanted to get into that field. So I was very fortunate. I've been lucky that I've had lots of opportunities in my career. I worked for the SABC and I worked for kykNET. I've traveled.
Who's the family in the house? Tell ons.
I met my wife in 2001. We got married in 2005. My firstborn, Mia, was born in 2007. I have another girl called Amy. She was born in 2011. Both of them are teenagers now. Live in Johannesburg. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Father
great.
too.
You have a dog as well?
Yeah, nee, kyk, I love dogs. I've got 2 dogs.
Okay.
Barkley's an English bulldog. He's sleeping here, listening to me. And I've got a little, we got him from the SPCA. My pa sal nou sê hy's 'n spirits drinker, but he's a small Pekingese something. It's very cheeky. He only wants to be with his mother.
I see that you post a lot about them, so they obviously. Hulle sê mos die eienaar lyk soos die hond baie keer. Later aan.
Listen, we started this interview so well. Don't go there, please, man. Ek is nog steeds mooier as my hond.
Ek weet jy is lief vir hulle. Okay, so back to your career. Where did it all start for you in journalism?
You know, Bronwyn, I was very lucky. But while I was at Stellenbosch, Naspers at the time was looking for people, and the country was changing. So they had this Naspers bursary, which meant that they were looking for students within the Stellenbosch School of Journalism. They were looking for people already. So I must be honest, I was very resistant because I could think, I'm not going to go work for a newspaper. I'm not going to go work for these guys and this and that.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky that they offered me a full bursary. And I started working at the Burger in 1997.
Okay.
So I started in the newsroom in 1997. And I stayed there for about a year and a half, just more than a year and a half, over a year and a half.
Oh, not long.
Because, so ek het lekker Afrikaanse stories geskryf. Dit was vir my 'n goeie leerskool. It was a very good school of thought because it taught me many things, and I'm eternally grateful. It taught me many things about how the Afrikaans community functioned, how people looked at Afrikaans, how the Afrikaans media functioned and affected our psyche as South Africans. Want jy weet, alles gedraai rondom Afrikaans.
Yeah, and that was very transformative years in the country as well.
Yeah, not in the newsroom that I was working at, but I digress now. But it was a interesting.
But that was the reality, yeah.
It was the reality. Look, but it was a politics aside from what the Burger and Naspers believed in at the time. It was an incredibly wonderful time for me to learn.
You took the good from it, yes.
I took the good from it. I mean, who will complain? My very first day at work, my boss assigned me to say, listen, it's holiday time, so we're going to need a holiday brochure. Please, can you be responsible for this holiday brochure? So day one, you must please go to Miss Clifton, right? So there was a helicopter ride, and I flew over Clifton, and there were all these wonderful ladies at the beach.
Yeah.
You know, and I ate ice cream and had drinks and things like that, and we took photos. I mean,
nice.
I just thought, what a perfect day to start.
Yes, nice, very nice. Okay, and then where did you land up after the Burger?
So one day I got this phone call from a colleague of mine who used to work with me at the Burger, and he phoned me from Johannesburg. And he said to me, listen, man, the SABC is looking for Afrikaans people. Hulle soek Afrikaanse mense. Even though, you know, the expiry date for this position had already finished. One thing about me, confidence, I always have confidence.
You don't lack that, yeah.
I don't lack that,
That's good.
I phoned the guy, I think his name was Chris Lowe at the time. Right. I phoned him. He was the executive producer of Monitor, which was on RSG. Phoned him and I said, hey, listen, man, this thing of yours, I see you looking for a journal. He said, well, it's already passed or whatever. So I said, no, I'm going to send you my CV in any case. Right?
Yes.
He said, so why must I listen to you? I said, well, if you don't want to, you're not interested in me, you're going to miss out on one of the best Afrikaans journalists in the country. And a couple of days later.
I love it. That's marketing yourself. Yes.
Yeah. This guy to ballet for me. He said, listen, can we set up an interview with you?
Yeah.
Can we set up an interview with you for this position? I'm looking for an Afrikaans journal. And
the right place, the right time.
Yeah, and a month later, I got a letter from the SABC, and I did an interview, and a month later, they appointed me. Said, we'd like to, toen moest ik daar van die Paarl af. The only thing I had was my car and my clothes, and I think a mattress, if I'm not sure. That was in 1998. And then I drove through to Johannesburg, and I went to go work at the SABC.
Okay.
So a wonderful time for me at the SABC, want ons het op daai stadium het ons goeie joernaliste gehad. It was a well-resourced company. Ons het nog ouer veterane daar gehad with new blood that was coming in. So it was a really, really wonderful time to work in the media industry. The country was changing. Yeah. I did lots of stuff. And the SABC, I'm eternally grateful for because they allowed me to do any sort of crazy stuff that I had in mind, man. Really? They allowed me to.
Okay,
yeah, it was baie lekker. I must be honest, I went from a radio, I went from RSG, and I went to TV news. And when I was at TV news, het ek baie gereis. I traveled a lot.
Mm.
So when I was at TV News, I worked in the sports section. So
Is
I
this
got
still at
to
SABC? Sorry.
at the SABC, yeah.
Okay. Mm.
And I was incredibly lucky because the SABC at that stage had money. So ek het Springbok toere gedoen, I did cricket tours, I went on Bafana stuff.
Okay.
It was a
As a
really, really
sports
wonderful time
presenter.
as a sports presenter.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
So through Africa, I was in Europe. I mean, there was a period for about 3 or 4 years that every November, December, I was not at home. Want ek is altyd somewhere daar met die Springbokke in Frankryk of
Okay.
Engeland of Wales of this and
Yeah.
that. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time. But by the time I got married and my
And
first
by the way,
daughter
did
was
you
born,
meet your wife in Joburg or Cape Town?
I met my wife in Joburg through the Springboks, by the way.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, my boss was invited to some Springbok function, and I wasn't supposed to go, but she said, "Oh, just take this and go to this thing." And I wasn't supposed to go. And that night, I met my wife there at this function.
Really?
She was part of the Springbok PR team, and yeah,
Nice.
20 years later, 2 children.
Yeah, amazing. Things happened in Joburg for you.
Yeah, I did, and
Yeah.
it was fabulous.
And then what was the progression at the SABC later on?
Look, it was taxing because I'm now married. I have a
Yeah,
child. He's
different.
little, and you suddenly become conscious about wanting to spend time with family.
Yeah.
So in 2006, I sort of wanted to do something else, and I went to go work at SuperSport, which was less travel, but yeah, it was SuperSport.
Okay.
And I worked there until about 2010 when it was the Football World Cup. Die Soccer Wêreldbeker was hier geweest. We were the
Right.
host. And I was responsible for a new show there. And yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, en daarna het ek stadium vir 'n bank gaan werk.
Oh, you left them then.
Yeah, I got tired of SuperSport. I felt I've done a lot. After the World
Yes.
Cup, I felt there were no more worlds to conquer, as they say.
Okay.
You know? And I wanted
You
to.
felt different chapter. Yeah.
I felt time to move on. So I went from SuperSport. I went to go work for a bank. So I had to go get up in a suit and tie and be part of a comms team at the bank, you know, 9 to 5, get the salary, this and that. But you know what, Bronwyn, it was never me. It was nooit ek.
I just want to say, yeah.
It was nooit regtig ek nie. It was never. I was never invested in it.
Yeah.
It was not a job I would recommend to myself again.
Yeah.
Yes. After about 2 years, I one morning resigned.
Wow.
I said to my wife, "This is not for me." And I remember it was somewhere in September of 2014. I was on my way to work, and I said to my wife, "I'm going to resign today." I had nowhere, I had no changes. I didn't know what opportunities lay ahead. Ek het nie werk gehad.
But there was that unfulfillment within you, right? And there was like, I'm not fitting in this mold anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I was driving to work to go and resign, my phone rang and I got this phone call from somebody at kykNET.
Yes.
Who said, "Hallo, Echbert, hallo. Ons is besig met 'n nuwe show, 'n Afrikaanse show. Sal jy nie belangstel nie? Ons soek graag vir nuwe mense, nuwe talent." Ek sê, "Moenie worry nie, ek gaan nou bedank." So
wow, that's timing for you, eh?
That was timing. Incredible. And I did some work for kykNET for a while. I did some radio work at Jacaranda FM here in Johannesburg for a while.
Okay.
And in 2017, I joined eNuus, which is the Afrikaans bulletin on kykNET, and I'm the deputy editor there. So, and I've stayed there ever since. So when you go on channel 144 or 145,
yes,
kan jy sommige aande my bakkies sien daar so.
Okay.
Op die televisie.
But hang on, you read the news. Is it in that capacity?
That I read the news, yes.
Oh, okay.
So ek kan my groot bek het my baie ver gevat. Ek kan alles doen. So I can read, I can write, I can do sport. Ek kan die programma nie op die lig sit.
Okay.
I can do many things.
Right.
So yeah,
because of
I'm
your
quite versatile in
experience.
that.
Yes. So this
And
is
my
not the
experience,
SABC.
No, it's not the SABC.
Okay,
Ons is
I'm
die
with you.
kompetisie van
I'm
die
with
SABC.
you. See, I
Ons
don't
is
understand all these things so well.
Dis okay, ons is die SAK se kompetisie.
Ek verstaan nou baie beter. Yeah, and now you're back in a suit and a tie, but only when you read the
I am
news.
back in a suit and tie. Like ek am alright.
If I watch the news every day,
Give
I
feedback, you
avoid
know.
the news. You know why I avoid the news? Because I struggle with the level of negativity. And that was my next question. How does it impact your mental capacity or health when you have to read? Because 90% of the news is not positive. Am I right? How do you relate to that?
Bronwyn, I'm going to say something very controversial now.
Mm-hmm.
I first want to say that South Africans and we as sections of the media are culpable in not telling people what an extraordinary country we live in. When I started at Die Burger, there was a large focus on telling people how bad things are. And the media in the 90s was largely focused on bad news, as you say. We largely focused on telling people how bad it is, how bad the crime is, how bad this is. And I'm not saying it's not, but that was the only thing that they focused largely on, is telling people how bad it is, how bad the rand is doing, how bad this is doing, how bad this. There's no more Afrikaans on aeroplanes. And I honestly believe that affects our psyche.
Of course.
Because I've been lucky to travel around the world. And when you're in other countries, you start of seeing, you start of experiencing that actually die goed waaroor ons kla, né, is nie uniek nie. It's not unique. It's over there as well. Okay, you'll be in France or in England and you will tell yourself, oh, well, you know, there's a train that comes on time and there's a aeroplane and there's all these wonderful things. But South Africa is still an extraordinary country, and we don't always remind ourselves what an extraordinary country we live in. You know, I want to make an example to you, and people who follow me on Facebook will know that I'm a huge Liverpool supporter. Big Liverpool supporter. For my 50th birthday, you're supposed to say, oh, you don't look 50. Give me a...
You don't.
Thank you, Dunky. So for my 50th birthday, I went to spoil myself and I went to Anfield, where Liverpool plays, you know.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be this huge experience for me, and it was. But to see firsthand sometimes, the hotel that I stayed in, for example, didn't have internet, didn't make up my bed, the TV didn't work.
Are you serious?
It was noisy. It was, at best, in a South African context, a 2-star hotel.
Yeah, sounds
But I paid almost 7,000 rand for the 2 nights that I had to stay there. Be that as it may, I constantly believe in this country because I believe that South Africa gives you extraordinary opportunities every day. You must look at it, and you must look at small things like the sunshine, the space that we have, our wonderful food,
the
demographics,
Cape Town
the mountains, the food that's accessible to us, the quality of it, the people. And I believe we are so... It was interesting for me, Bruno. Last year, I had some Italian friends that came to visit South Africa for the first time, and they came to South Africa. They came to my house. They went to Cape Town. They went to the Kruger. And it was interesting to perceive and see South Africa through somebody else's eyes.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. They couldn't stop talking about this country, its people.
What we have to offer.
What we have to offer, how amazing it is. The point that I'm trying to make is, for far too long, I'm skeptical about what I read, about how bad things... It is bad.
Yes.
But it's not unique to us. And there are a lot more positive things that we sometimes don't focus on.
That's right.
Because we've been told to fill our head with the negative stuff. You know?
Do you feel that there has been a shift in the news in terms of that point of view? For somebody that sits on the other side of it.
Ons hou daarvan om vir mense te sê hoe sleg dit is.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Ons hou daarvan om vir mense te sê hoe sleg dit is, en ons vertel nie vir mekaar. Like, I'm going to make a simple example. I just told you where I was born, in Simondium, and what it looked like when I was born there. Yeah. Now, all those wine estates there, that are there, and the foreign people that are there, that is coming here. The amount of foreign tourists that we see in South Africa has gone exponentially. En dit beteken daar's werk vir iemand daar in Simondium want daar's foreign mense wat kom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Employment. Yeah.
Look at something as simple as sport. The amount of sport that we see on television and when we go to it, we've got access to it. We can go watch the Springboks, the Proteas, we can go watch Bafana. We can go overseas to go watch them. That's the progression the country has made. And yeah, ons het probleme, but there's an enormous potential in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not ignorant about the fact that there is inequality, there's poverty, there is unemployment, there's crime. All of that is real. But
Absolutely.
if you live in it, you can't fill your mind with that all the time, 24/7. That's my point of view.
That the country gives you. That you'll be surprised at how many people come from abject poverty and get and make themselves better people that can get out of abject poverty. En dit is hoekom ek altyd glo.
I think it starts here. It starts here with the desire to want to change.
If you believe in yourself,
exactly.
This country gives you enormous opportunity. Your potential can be unleashed.
That's right.
If you just believe in yourself.
It's got to start there. It's got to start there, yeah. If you didn't pick up the phone and make that phone call to SABC years ago, you would not have gone to Joburg. You would not have had the exposure you had.
None of it.
Yeah.
Right?
It started with you. You believed that there is something greater out there for you. And you chased it.
Yeah, and you know what, Bronwyn? It's easy for me to maybe say it because I'm now sort of, man, I'm 51.
You've lived it, yeah.
I've been overseas.
No, but others can learn from that. That's the point of this conversation.
The one thing about South Africa, there's two things that you must always realize about this country. Make a sporting analogy now. Last year in the Rugby World Cup in France, right? I don't know if you followed the Springboks there and how tight it was and whatever.
I get the info from my family group on WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. But, the Springboks, when they went to the knockout phases, they beat France by 1 point, 29-28. They beat England in the semi-final, 16-15. They beat the All Blacks in the final, 12-11. Everything by 1 point.
Yes.
But for me, that is so an embodiment of South Africa and hoe ons met mekaar omgaan, how we deal with each other. Because we're always on this precipice of despair and joy. It can turn in a second. Elke punt, né? It could have gone anyway. So if that's how on the tightrope we live in South Africa and what we see every day. There's this tightrope of despair and joy.
That's true.
And you must really...
It's your choice to pull yourself back and decide where you want to reside. Where do you want to reside?
Where you want to reside.
100%.
En jy weet, just when you are happy, it's amper soos ons wil nooit heeltemal happy wees nie. Ons kan nie heeltemal happy wees nie. It's a very interesting thing for me, like when I read the economic indicators sometimes. Goeienaand, ons kyk nou gou na die kommoditeitspryse en die prys van goud en die aanwysers en die rand en die dollar. That we sometimes base our day on, okay, maar die rand is nou
one fluctuation.
And that's on this fluctuation, man. How bad. Dan vergeet ons al die ander goeie goed wat vandag daar was, maar
I get what you're saying. Yes.
Ek onthou 'n tyd toe die rand amper sterker was teenoor die dollar.
Sure.
I'm now going way back, man. Nou kan jy sien hoe oud ek is.
Long time ago.
Ja, in the 80s, ja.
Yes.
Maar ons kon nêrens gaan as Suid-Afrikaners nie. We couldn't go anywhere. There was a ban on this country. We watched rubbish TV. Our sporting teams couldn't go anywhere. We were running out of money.
Was that era?
So it's that. So South Africans are sometimes. I'm trying to think what I want to say now. Ek wil dit mooi verwoord. Ons kan nooit gelukkig wees met mekaar. Daar moet altyd iets wees, man. We can never be happy, truly happy with each other. Or
sometimes you get stuck in that cycle of same things, hardship, struggle. How do you break away from that? Yeah, that is the question. And it starts with you.
Ek probeer baie positief wees.
You are positive, yeah.
Thank you.
So what keeps you busy? passion-wise, hobby-wise? How do you feed your mind when you're not behind the news desk?
Weet jy, ek is maar eintlik 'n deesdae is ek 'n baie lui en simpel ou, né? As you can see, I haven't gone to gym in a very long time.
No comment.
I haven't gone to gym in a very long time. So my day starts, I take my kids to school. That's the first thing I've got to do. I take my dogs with, by the way. So they go in the car as I take my kids to school.
Yeah.
I usually try and go and get to the gym. And I focus my time on now trying to have experiences with my family.
Yeah.
I really believe in experiences, working towards experiences.
That's right.
And also, so that I can further have context about what an amazing country we actually live in. Just to make you an example, later this month, it's me and my wife's 20th wedding anniversary.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, let me put some money away so that we can maybe go overseas. And my wife said, no. We actually live in an amazing country. Let us go somewhere in South Africa because our first thought is to go somewhere else. So in a long-winded way, I do believe that a person like myself's role now is to be a role model for somebody else.
Okay, good.
I've got to be a role model for somebody there, from Paarl, from Simondium, for wherever it is, from Oudtshoorn, or where there is somebody from our community, where I can be a role model.
And if we talk about legacy, we're talking about the legacy you're going to leave behind for your kids, for others.
And ongelukkig, unfortunately, in the communities that we come from, we sometimes struggle to have proper role models.
Yeah.
And
what would be your final message for people from the perspective of what legacy you want to leave behind, and what do you think is that main lesson in life has been for you?
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
That's the een ding wat jy het, né? And in a country that is so competitive as ours now, the one thing that you have and people cannot take away is you have a drive or a belief.
Yeah.
Nah? A belief in your abilities.
Yes.
Because for a very long time, we as South Africans have gone on this journey where we break each other down. And even when we've got a democracy and we've reconciliation and whatever, ons is nog steeds baie keer vasgevang. We are still caught up in this about breaking each other down. I want to tell kids today who might be listening to us, you must find something to reinforce your belief. You must find something to help you believe in yourself.
Strengthen that belief, yeah.
And strengthen that belief. And I was very, very fortunate, Bronwyn. I was very, very fortunate. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. I had all the possible ways around me and means around me, support systems around me to eventually come where I am. But there came a time when I had to do things by myself.
Correct.
When people did not believe in me, and at a time when I went to a university that was still on the change and did not believe in people that looked like me or you, we had to somehow find a way to block it. And the only thing that got me through was the belief in myself.
Yeah.
It was the only thing that actually got me through was this confidence that I know I can do it. I know ek is goed genoeg. Ek weet ek kan mooi Afrikaans praat. Ek weet ek kan dit doen.
Yeah.
And I'd like to say to people, don't let the negativity eat at you where you forget who you are and what you can give.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for the wisdom. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for taking the time.
It's a groot plesier, Bronwyn.
I appreciated that message too.
Thank you. No, and you know what? South Africans actually are extraordinary people.
Resilient, eh?
And we are, well, ek raak bietjie moeg om resilient te wees. But you know what? A lot of being asked of us.
Yeah.
But that is what South Africa has always asked of people, is to be resilient.
Yeah. By default.
By default.
Yeah.
By default. And you know what?
Ons is extraordinary mense.
Ons is extraordinary mense in hierdie land. We do extraordinary things And when you least expect it, there's always somebody that comes and does extraordinary things that help you.
Just be open. Be open.
Yeah, to be open for the opportunity.
Be open. Yeah. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. Let's get the
Dit is 'n groot
conversation
plesier,
out.
Bronwyn. Thank you so much. It was lovely chatting to you.
Ja, Afrikaans is wonderlik.
Is dit pyk?
Dis
Jy moet weer
pyk.
kyk, né? Dan moet jy please comment on my
Dis
tie
pyk.
and my suit, né?
Ek sal op Facebook en waar ook al. Baie dankie vir jou tyd. Boesak,
Thank you,
keep
Bronwyn.
well. Have a
Dankie.
good day.
Bye.